I was 22 when it happened. At the time, I had just graduated from college, drifting between jobs, doing odd tasks around my small hometown of Davenport, Maine, babysitting, cleaning, errands, anything that paid quick cash. One afternoon, a woman I had once dog sat for recommended me to a friend of her neighbors, a man named 𝗵𝗺𝗀𝗃. He called me himself. His voice was polite, but there was something in his tone I couldn't quite place, like he was choosing his words too carefully. He explained he'd be traveling for a week and needed someone to stay at his house to look after his golden retriever, Copper. He stressed that Copper was anxious, better off with someone actually staying overnight. The pay was generous, a little more than I usually got, so I agreed. I met Luther 2 days later. He was in his late 40s, tall, wearing wire-rimmed glasses and a faded windbreaker. His smile felt slightly too wide, like he practiced it in the mirror. His house stood alone on the wooded edge of town, quiet except for the trees creaking in the wind. Inside, it was neat but dated, beige carpets, floral curtains, a faint smell of mildew mixed with air freshener. He showed me everything, how often to let Copper out, what food I could use, where the spare key was hidden. He said I could stay in the guest bedroom on the first floor, right off the living room. He repeated that Copper didn't like being alone. Something in the way he said it made my skin prickle, but I forced myself to smile. The first 2 nights were uneventful. I watched TV, walked Copper in the evenings. I then curled up in the guest bed with the dog resting at my feet. But on the 3rd night, the mood shifted. I was sitting on the bed scrolling my phone when I noticed something strange. On the dresser across from me sat a digital alarm clock. It looked newer than everything else in the room. Sleek black plastic, bright blue LED display, out of place against the early 2000s decor. I leaned closer, frowning. Above the numbers was a tiny, round pinhole. At first, I thought it was a sensor. Then I noticed the angle. It pointed directly at the bed. My stomach lurched. I'd read about hidden cameras disguised as alarm clocks, but never imagined I'd find one in real life. My mind raced. I picked it up. It was heavier than expected, humming faintly, as if a small fan ran inside. I turned it toward me, staring straight into that black dot, and in that second, Copper whined and lifted his head, ears twitching. Then I heard it, the soft, unmistakable sound of a door shutting somewhere deeper in the house. Not the front door, somewhere inside. Every hair on my body stood on end. Luther wasn't supposed to return until Sunday. It was only Wednesday night. My pulse hammered so hard I felt it in my throat. Slowly, I set the clock back down, my hands trembling. Then came the sound of footsteps on the hallway carpet, slow and deliberate, stopping right outside my door. I lunged for the lock, twisting it just as the footsteps halted. Then his voice came through, Luther's, calm but breathless. He said he had left something in the room last time and needed me to open the door. I pressed my hand over my mouth, silent. My thoughts spiraled. Was he in the house the whole time? Was he watching me through that camera? Was he waiting for me to notice? Luther's voice changed. He claimed the clock was just a motion sensor for the dog, that he hadn't wanted to alarm me. He told me to open the door so we could talk like adults. When I didn't respond, the knocking turned to pounding. His calm tone vanished, replaced with sharp, angry shouts. Copper barked and clawed at the door, growling, the sound echoing with Luther's fists. My eyes darted to the window, low enough to climb out, but locked. My fingers fumbled, slick with sweat, taking 3 tries to snap the latch open. Behind me, Luther's pounding grew louder, his voice now a snarl. If I didn't open, he'd get the spare key, call the cops, tell them I had broken into his house. That was enough. I shoved the window open and scrambled out, landing hard on the damp grass. Copper leapt at the ledge but didn't follow. My breath came in ragged gasps as I ran barefoot across the side yard, gravel tearing into my feet. At the end of the road, I crouched behind a cluster of mailboxes, phone clutched in my shaking hands, dialing my mom. She drove 15 minutes to get me, and when her headlights finally swept across the road, I nearly sobbed with relief. The next morning, I blocked Luther's number and contacted a lawyer, but without proof, photos, recordings, or the device itself, there was little to be done. He could easily claim the clock was harmless, that it was all in my head. My lawyer warned me not to return, not alone, and I didn't argue. I never got my pay. The woman who recommended me stopped answering my messages. For weeks, my dreams were poisoned. I woke up sweating, convinced there was a camera lens in the shadows of my own room. I checked every clock, every smoke detector, every frame, and I'll never forget that sound. That quiet door closing behind me in a house I thought was empty. Proof that he may have been inside the whole time, watching, waiting.